authoring. And the first case that we want to show is guided fault finding, where we have a certain problem. The problem can be a combination of fault codes, and additional can also be a symptom. And we're now in a certain subsequence of that. We call it a test sequence, where we are combining test steps. And the user, the technical author, with the knowledge of how the sequence should work, he's only doing a high-level authoring of those test steps. A test steps looks like this. We have two different test steps. One is with the user interaction, and the other one is an automated step. So the user has to define what is the specification of the procedure, what is the decision. This is the text that is shown to the user. And then he can put in, let's say, an HTML page, and additionally can put in buttons, like a yes or no button. And furthermore, he can put in a list of additional measurement values. Then he can combine by drag and drop. He can combine those test cases to test sequences. And at the end, he can integrate those test sequences into a fault management system, where for a certain ECU, let's say an engine ECU, and a certain fault code, a DTC for example, he can link certain sequences. And the overall solution then, looks like this. I can execute it from the system, so I can directly debug it as well. I get a screen. The screen is also capable of being edited in the tool itself. I will showcase this later on. Here you can now see a first test step and an interaction with the user. I can walk myself through those steps of the system. I can see on the top, I can see measurement values that are live read from the vehicle. And ultimately, after executing this sequence, I will reach the final conclusion. And the final conclusion, based on a certain list of measurement values, will tell me that my fuel filter is blocked. And additionally, this now gives me additional information how to repair this part. And it will also show me, let's say, the part number that can be integrated into the step. So this was one example for a guided fault finding procedure, where we have a certain fault code as a starting point, and then have the test steps and the test sequences on our way how to execute it. You want to stop here? So shall we do, let's say, that was previously seen as a guided fault finding, and these screens can be completely authored and edited in the tool itself. So for example, on the right side you can see a list of controls. There's also a list of containers that can be used, and everything can be derived by drag and drop into the middle screen. And if I select, for example, a certain button, then you can see additional options that you can set. And also here you have an event, a button click event, where you can then take actions on that. For this guided fault finding sequences or guided commissioning, whatever the sequence type that you want to use is, the whole mechanism, so the whole workflow is created automatically. And variables like this yes selection, you can see they are derived from a signature. So in the language that we're using called OTX, everything is a procedure or a method that has a certain interface and certain variables that are put in and some variables that are put as an output. And you can just per drag and drop, you can put those variables into the sequences, and you can create the screen itself and fill it with live data from the sequence.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is very.
Actually, maybe starting over. So this is the normal OTX view, where you have on the top left side, you have all the items like flow. On the flow, you have, for example, a branch, which is an if and else. If I drag and drop this in here, then I can see the options. I can, for example, use an equal method, and then I can drag and drop parameters from here, so I can compare an integer value with the integer value 15, and that's the way I'm programming. And then I can put in a dialog as an example, and if the value is 5, then this dialog will be called. So on the top left side, there's all the OTX elements that are available. At the bottom side here, there's a you could say file management. So all the procedures, all the files are in here, and this is actually an SVN stored. So we have a subversion system where you can check in the data, and you can see here the name of the person that has done the commit. You can see here the tag version and the date when the last commit was done. And as soon as you start doing a change in the sequence, it will automatically get the log on that file, so that now nobody else can do the changes. And additionally, coming back to the diagnostics itself, we have two options for that. So we have it's called a diagnostic module, where we can take for one issue. We can see here all the different sequences and services that are available. And if I open this one, I can see the request and I can see the response parameters. And this is actually the request and response of reading the fault codes. And per drag and drop, I can then create this the sequence. So it helps me on using the data for doing the diagnostics with, let's say, the vehicle or whatever type it is. And this, for example, helps me to get a faster process of using the language OTX to do, let's say, diagnostic sequences, or also in general to do sequences. So this code will create me or give me the fault codes from a certain issue. In that case, it's a starter kit, a demo issue. The second option, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, quick question, sorry. So obviously you can poll for particular measurements from the OBD device in this. Yes. But if, for example, if I have this thing has, we captured historical data from the sports and probably have stored them somewhere. Can we run this tool against a file input instead of a live OBD tool system? Can we yes. read parameters? Okay.
Yeah. Additionally, you also have, for example, you can also use an SQL database. So you can also access an SQL database and get data out of the database, and then do some, let's say, some analysis based on, let's say, historical data and based on live data from the vehicle. And additionally, you can also read from a file. You can also read from a file, from an external file. So both options are there. Okay, and the other way of doing it is you have a wizard in the tool as well. So when you're doing a drag and drop of that wizard, then you can also see this is the request, the message which is sent to the issue, and at the bottom you have the response, which is the message that you receive from the issue, and then you can put a check mark here, can press finish, and he will create a procedure by himself that will provide you the necessary information. So it's really straightforward on creating the necessary data.
Okay. So once a diagnostics sequence is executed and we find out that this particular equipment or part has a problem, you're storing the output of that diagnosis back as an XML, or you have again options for that to put it into SQL or?
Yes, you can put it into an SQL, but you can also create an XML. So actually, let me just move over back to the other demo project of the fault codes. What what it does is actually creating autonomously by itself, it's creating an XML report. So that was created when I was executing the sequence before. And you can see in here, for every test step, it documents what was the test, it documents the results, and it documents also which key was pressed, for example. And additionally, it also adds the red measurement values into this. So this you create automatically generated by the sequences that we have. But in the tooling itself, we also have an XML report functionality in here, where you can create XML-based log files. And lots of our customers are actually using this functionality also to create their reports.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing that I forgot to mention before is in the tool included next to the let's say the SVN subversion integration, we also have a complete workflow integrated here. So you can see here you have a certain assignee that you can select from a list. You have the different states, so you can switch over the procedure that you create into the different states, and you can create summary, keywords, description, and also document the history, who did what changes in the tooling. So that is in here as well.
Okay.
Okay. So overall, this is a quick introduction to OTX and all the capabilities of the tool. Very high level, but this is a quick introduction to that one.